And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan, and this is your Alaska Aviation Weather Outlook on this Friday, the first day of August 2025. To set things up, as of this Friday morning, we still have a low-pressure circulation along the lower Gulf North Pacific interface, and it's still bringing areas of rain and rain showers along the Gulf Coast, pushing into south-central parts of the mainland. We have another low sitting out here in the Bering, and that is rather moist, warm air mass. So we have a fair amount of low stratus and fog and areas of rain or rain showers. But high pressure that's built out of the southwest across the central northern interior into the Canadian Arctic coast is bringing widespread VFR conditions expected here for Saturday morning and warmer temperatures this weekend. We're looking at highs in the 70s. Especially starting this Friday afternoon, and for Saturday into Sunday, especially along the middle upper Yukon River. For Saturday morning, there could be some pockets of IFR, Port Alexander off shore there, the Prince of Wales Island, just west of Craig, and also up here north end of the Panhandle, Chilkoot White, Skagway Haines. Also some pockets of maybe IFR there, east end of the Kenai Peninsula, west end of Prince William Sound. For Saturday afternoon, we still have lower cloud cover and VFR conditions along and south of the Alaska Range, including parts of the Mat-Su Valley, Chugach Mountains, Copper River Basin, and perhaps even an isolated thunderstorm could pop up with the daytime heating just north and west of there from areas other side of the Alaska Range, kind of toward McGrath, as well as up toward the 40-mile Gold Country, upper Tanana Valley. And then we have extensive IFR conditions, Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, much of the Bering, St. Lawrence down through the Pribilofs, and westward through the Aleutian Chain. Sunday morning, we still find VFR conditions along the Yukon River Valley, thanks to that ridge of high pressure. And little improvement to conditions, VFR along the northeastern Gulf Coast, northern Panhandle, still some areas of MVFR across the southern two-thirds of the Panhandle, and lingering MVFR conditions along and south of the Alaska Range, including portions of the Mat-Su Valley and, again, the Chugach Mountains. IFR conditions could be creeping upward into lower Cook Inlet along especially east side of Kodiak Island, and then continuing across much of the Bering and the Aleutian Chain. For Sunday afternoon, we still have VFR conditions across much of the central northern mainland and along the Elcan border. But with the daytime heating, again, there could be a few thunderstorms pop up along and north of the Alaska Range, extending toward the 40-mile Gold Country, and also the area around McCarthy, Wrangell St. Elias Mountains. We still have MVFR conditions lingering in areas of the Panhandle along the southeastward facing slopes, the west arm of the Alaska Range, especially from around Rainy Pass down through Lake Clark and Merrill passes. And then still IFR out over the Bering and the Aleutian Chain. And another thing to note, a cold front will be dropping southeastward out of the Arctic Ocean very late Sunday night into Monday morning and impact areas along the Arctic coast with some showers, and it's going to bring cooler temperatures. But in the meantime, over the weekend, this Friday afternoon into Sunday afternoon, there could be some much warmer temperatures up here, even along the North Slope and Arctic coast. Some areas could see 60s, maybe even a 70-degree reading. So pass conditions Saturday, Anaktuvuk Pass, VFR, same thing there at Adigan Pass, the east central Brooks Range. And as we drop down along the west arm of the Alaska Range, MVFR conditions, Lake Clark and Merrill. Rainy Pass, MVFR, you get to the other side of the west entrance, there could be an isolated thunderstorm develop within vicinity Saturday afternoon. And then Windy Pass, generally MVFR conditions expected on Saturday. Isabel, also the same MVFR expected Saturday. As we get to Mantasta Pass, MVFR conditions early in the day, trying to give way to VFR conditions. And Tanita Pass, generally MVFR conditions should hold during the day Saturday. Same thing at Portage Pass, and there could even be a little IFR conditions there along the east entrance Saturday morning. And then finally in the north end of the Panhandle, Chilkoot and White starting out with some IFR early Saturday, giving way to VFR conditions. And freezing levels at the surface, we find readings near freezing near Kaktovik and just out there over the Beaufort Sea. Freezing levels aloft are lowest along the north central Gulf Coast because we have this low pressure circulation here, which is accompanied by lower freezing levels aloft. And then behind me, even though we have a low sitting out here in the Bering north of the central and western Aleutians, we find freezing levels are, even though they're below 12,000 to near 10,000 feet, this is definitely a warmer air mass. We have freezing levels aloft to 12,000 feet, all the way up into the lower Chukchi Sea past the Bering Strait there on Saturday morning. And where there are some thicker clouds producing precipitation, we have an area of rain that's kind of set up here over parts of the Copper River Basin, Chugach Mountains, Talkeetna Mountains. Saturday, we find some moderate icing above 12,000 feet in this area south of the Alaska Range and south central. And then down over the lower Gulf above 10,000 feet, because we still have some areas of light rain or rain showers. And then back to the west, there's a front that has some showers with it, and also the low that's circulating back here north of the Aleutians. So there could be some isolated moderate icing on Saturday above 14,000 feet in those locations. Now the winds aloft at 30,000 feet or 300 millibars, we still clearly have a low pressure circulation between the lower Gulf and North Pacific with south-southwest flow of 60-65 knots coming inland across the Panhandle. Backside of it, winds 60 to 70 knots coming in off of south of the Alaska Range into the western Gulf, and then out here to the far west, generally across the Aleutians, a westerly flow with a few localized areas up near 75 knots. At 9,000 feet, or 700 millibars, we have that low circulation still showing up out over the lower Gulf, North Pacific. Back to the west, a band of winds 35-40 knots from the lower Yukon coast and Nunavik Island back toward eastern Russia. And then across the Aleutians at 9,000 feet, we find a broad area of 35 to 45 knot, generally westerly winds. And then at 3,000 feet, still a hint of that low pressure circulation. Winds off of the outer Panhandle, northeastern Gulf Coast there, 25 to locally 30 knots. But then along the west coast, here's this circulation of the low that's in the Bering. We do have some winds 35 to 40 knots along the YK deltas on up toward St. Lawrence Island from the south. And then we have westerly winds coming across and north of the Aleutians, 35 to 40 knots. And that's going to translate to some moderate turbulence there on Saturday that covers much of the Aleutian chain creeping up into the Alaska Peninsula. Surface to 3,000 feet for the Aleutian chain as we get up toward the Alaska Peninsula, Kuskokwim, Bristol Bays, Nunavik Island, including the Pribilovs north through St. Matthew and up to St. Lawrence Island. There could be some moderate turbulence on Saturday, surface to 4,000 feet.